recording, and I'm going to make this large. And this is a pretty quick chapter on rhythm. So when we think of rhythm, most of the time you think of rhythm as having to do with music or something that audio. But you can have, and it's fun to achieve rhythm in your compositions. So rhythm helps us engage the viewer. If you view something that stimulates, it's your sense of taste, for example, or your sense of hearing, it's called kinesthetic empathy, because you're not actually experiencing that, whatever that taste might be or whatever you think you're hearing, but it is able to bring up these other senses and resonate with some other kind of a association or maybe a memory. And so that is called kinesthetic art. And this example by Charles Birchfield is called the insect chorus, and it's so lively that you can almost imagine, this is a summer's day, everything is in, full growth, and there's these sort of vibrating lines and shapes that give us the impression of the insects of summer. So when we talk about rhythm in terms of composition or art or visual rhythm, it's a design principle that is based very heavily on repetition. And often it's based on the repetition of elements that are the same or only very slightly modified. And as you can see from this painting, it has a beat to it or a flow, and it invokes, even though it's flat, it's a two-dimensional surface, it invokes a feeling of rhythm, like the waves on an ocean, on the ocean, or rolling down a creek. And that's what you're kind of striving for if you're trying to introduce rhythm into your work. You can have non-objective rhythm, like we saw on the previous slide, but organic, natural shapes are capable of producing a rhythm, as in this photograph of a tree forest. All of these shapes are similar, and they seem to undulate, and they seem to have a sense of rhythm. We talk about repeating shapes and their arrangement, but you can also think of color and texture. This is a photograph of the sand dunes at Death Valley, and it definitely has a feeling of rhythm. There's a repeating texture that goes through it, and then again these sort of undulating lines that are not quite the same, but very similar. Now, this is quite different, but this is a chair design, and it has repetition in vertical and horizontal slats. And then it also, that rhythm changes up towards the top of the chair where those vertical and horizontal slats cross over one another. So we get a little more intensity there in the center and at the top. Rhythm is all over nature. So we have day and night, we have tides that come and go, we have planetary movement, we have seasons. And this is reflected in what we call in art alternating rhythm. So alternating rhythm is when you have successive patterns in which the same elements appear in a regular order, as in this painting here. So you have all of these lines and shapes and circles repeating regularly. But what makes this, what keeps this from being kind of static and formal is that the colors the artist chose have such great contrast that this appears to be moving or vibrating as you look at it. So they've created rhythm in this, the pattern of this repeating pattern, but it's livened up by the color. And you'll see rhythm often in our architecture. So here's a little photograph of part of a Greek temple. And you can see there's rhythm in the alternating light and dark shadows and shapes in the different parts of this building. Progressive rhythm is often seen in nature, and it's where the repetition of a shape changes, but in a very regular manner. So in this photograph of an artichoke that's been cut in half, you can see these shapes repeating, but changing little by little. So there's a rhythm there. A series of shapes that gets bigger or smaller as it repeats will demonstrate what we call progressive rhythm. Hold on just one sec. That phone is never for me, it's always for my husband. So this can also include color and value and texture. And it is, again, because it's so often found in nature, it's a type of familiar rhythm for us to see. And that sums it up. That is our whole chapter on rhythm. I'll stop recording.